Hi there, this is Alicia with Performentor with another Heuristic podcast. And today we're talking to Chase Hazelwood, who's the CEO of Go-Forth Pest Control. And he's creating a work environment here that provides opportunities for people without college degrees to make the kind of income that is life-changing. Anything that you'd like to add to that introduction, Chase?
Sure. We definitely believe that no matter what your background, you should have an opportunity to reach for success. And so at Go-Forth, we strive to look for character traits and personality and grit is one of our major values, rather than looking for skills that you need a college degree to have earned. And we do have a few collegiate graduates, but in general, that's not a pre-qualification for getting rid of people's pests. So, we enjoy the challenge, and we look at it as maybe a bit of a mission to affect our community by offering people the opportunity to make life-changing amounts of money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's such a shame that the trades have gotten such a bad rap as being like somehow like second place, like the thing that you don't strive for, where it's really good, meaningful work. And if you work hard and follow a great system, you can make great money. Sometimes
Absolutely.
sometimes more than PhDs. I used to work a place where we hired a lot of folks with PhDs or almost PhDs who worked in the lab, and they were very frustrated that they put 10 years into school and their market value is really no better than or even less than somebody with an associate's degree.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think that our mentality for all this is we do performance-based pay. And almost exclusively across the board. And we have people that did not graduate high school that break six figures, and well above. And especially where we are in our standard of living and cost of living is so low, that is really, really good money. I will say, you said something, I do think that there's a bad rap around the trades. And I think that there's we're kind of educated and brought into this environment where we all need to be maybe bankers or wear a suit to work every day. But I will say that I think that the pandemic has really brought to light the opportunities that are there, as well as creating the shortage in the trades and labor. And I think that's served us really well because we pay so much more and we create so much more opportunity than our competition, that we've been really able to, once we've functionally been able to figure out who the right people are, which is quite a challenge, we've been really able to go after the best and the brightest people. And so I've been very, very pleased to be able to sort of create opportunity for people to come grasp and step in and make a massive change. Because I think, when I graduated school, in college, all I wanted to do was make, $100,000 a year. And when I graduated, the types of jobs that I was looking at, they were not paying that kind of money, period. So and the idea that someone in their mid-20s can come to work here and just work really hard and follow the system, and they will make great money, is unbelievably rewarding to us as a management team.
Yeah.
So we're really, really proud of that.
No, you should be. I mean, I think that's, like you said, it changes lives, and that's just not a phrase. It's like it really does. So the heuristic that we've got to talk about today is really one of the foundational ones for Performentor. Unleash people energy and fight entropy. And really, what that speaks to is, I look at an organization as a way of taking the energy of people, meaning the decisions, the actions, the brain power, the willpower, everything, and unleashing it and harnessing it so that you can get a sustainable economic value. And that's a way of looking at a business that might be a little different from historically how businesses have been looked at in terms of a trade-off between business and people, where I see people as like, you can't take that out of the business or you don't have one. And the fighting the entropy is a dorky way of saying that it's that harnessing part. So not only you want to unleash it, you don't want to let too much energy get wasted in ways or misdirected. That prevents the organization from moving forward. So that's kind of where it comes from. I was just curious what you think of when you read those words.
When I hear that, I think of instantly. I think of our methodology for our pay structure, and the idea that we attempt to create a performance-based pay structure that is objective. And basically operates on qualitative or quantitative numbers, and how much work you can get done, how well you get it done, are all things that are easy to measure, very linear. And what it does is it creates an environment where people know, if I do one more thing, or if I work a little bit harder to do this job better, I get instantly rewarded. And we create this very rapid gratification system for people to be able to feel rewarded. And one of the largest things when you say entropy, and I think of people becoming very complacent, and that's one of the largest things that our organization ends up working on, is creating excitement and engagement, and stopping our organization from having that complacency. And so we set ridiculously big goals. And every year, at the beginning of the year, we also work with each of our employees to set their professional goals for the year and their personal goals for the year. And while we believe that people have to hold themselves accountable, we do believe that people don't have a lot of experience setting goals and then figuring out how to achieve them. And so we have developed a system, and so we break this down for them, and we create these opportunities, because realistically, what you get when you come to work for Go-Forth is you get this environment of energy and excitement. And so we have to build that culture. It takes constant nourishment and constant, bringing it in and like harnessing it, like you said, because that energy can turn negative if things aren't going your way or whatever. And so our objective are create systems that reinforce the types of behaviors that are excellent, aim for delight, show grit, grow, those types of things, set crazy high goals, teach people, develop people, hire from within if at all possible. So what we want to accomplish is rapid growth. One of the interesting things, and I'll back up a second, is that people want to work for organizations that are growing fast inherently, number one. And number two, it makes sense because it creates tremendous opportunity. Yeah. And so I just don't believe that I'm doing my job as the business owner and the person who's committed to creating opportunity for their people, if we aren't growing fast enough for them to be constantly learning. So at Go-Forth, we want lifelong learners, and we want to reward that lifelong learning. So we've got to keep growing and keep getting it done quickly.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that, or what I think of when you describe that, and I think about unleashing people energy, like what motivates people. I know what motivates me, and I see other people motivated similarly, that when I feel like I'm making progress in a direction that I would like, even if I haven't hit the goal, as long as I feel like I'm making some sort of positive progress, or I'm making, a kind of an impact, and I feel energized, I feel good, I feel motivated. So it sounds like you're creating a lot of processes and systems that provide that for people, so that it's that energy creation system that you talked about.
Yeah, so we talk about goal setting in three steps. One is we create our goal. 2 is we reverse engineer the tasks that it requires to accomplish that goal. And 3, we need a feedback mechanism to measure the tasks. So on a day-to-day basis, we teach our employees to measure the tasks and how well they achieved those tasks as their goal. So if their goal was to complete like 10 services every day, and to break that down, they have to start at 8 o'clock. They have to, work until 5 o'clock. They have maybe, 10 or 15 tasks that build up. I have to stay on pace. I have to make sure my timing's good, whatever it is. So they can't really control whether or not they get 10 done. What happens if a customer has extraordinary demands, or we can't put 10 appointments on their calendar because they have to drive too far or anything like that. So, but what they can control is all of the tasks that lead up to it. And so what we try to teach them to do is set your tasks, like show up at 8 o'clock, work until 5, have a great attitude, and measure yourself on those tasks every day and consider that a success. And I think so much business teaches people, and life in general, we teach them, we reward results. And I understand that makes sense. It does encourage some innovation, but at the same time, it isn't precisely fair, and it also doesn't maximize. So what happens if your job is to go do 10 services a day, and at lunchtime you've completed your 10? Well, what happens for the rest of the day? So what we try to do is start at 8, finish at 5. And so if you're done with 10, you call and you get more. And maybe you did 20 today. And that is the difference between how we go about helping our people learn how to set goals, how we hold them accountable. It also maintains a feeling of control for our people, which I think that control feels like progression. It feels empowering, and it doesn't make you surrender to the fate of the world, right? So that's especially useful in sales, where people feel if you're not buying, pest control services, they feel like they're failing. And really, we don't want people to feel that way. We want them to work hard and feel like a success when they have worked hard.
Yeah, I think back when I was an athlete, there was a distinction made between process goals and outcomes goals. So outcomes goals would be, I want to win this race. I want to place, third in my age group at the national championship. Right, like those are like outcomes. And then those process goals are like, I'm executing. I'm doing my training plan with regularity. I'm consistently whatever, right? I didn't make any errors. I brought my nutrition with me or something. I don't know, like any old thing. And the idea is that you focus on the process goals in order to increase your chance of accomplishing the outcomes goals. And so success isn't necessarily just the outcomes goals. Like if I were to win a race, but I executed really badly, I don't necessarily feel like I was successful. But if I got second place but I executed and I did everything I could in order to prepare and execute on that day, then I did feel like I was successful. And I think it sounds like that you create a system by which, focuses on the process, knowing that if you do that consistently, then you will get the outcomes over the long run.
That's right. And there doesn't have to be a loser for every winner. Right. In the game of business, we make money. Right. So I love your example with the race, because if you've done it, there's a phrase says, leave it all out on the field. Right. And we all seem to get that in sports. Like if you tried really hard but didn't win, you can still be proud. But in business, it's like there's no such thing as a moral victory. There's only excuses. And so what we attempt to do is change that mindset. We want to change people's mindsets into tons of small victories where they feel like they're accomplishing, they're progressing. We talk a lot about how happiness is progress. And so it's not our job to make our employees happy. It's our job to provide the opportunity for progress. And then that progress in turn gives them more fulfillment at their job. And so what we really, really strive to do is break things down into things that people can control, give them all of the opportunity that we possibly can to win at those tasks and therefore hit those crazy goals. And what I think is interesting is our process has been phenomenal. So, 10 years ago, our goals were a third of what they are today. And, when we would set a goal, it'd be a third of what we set today on almost anything. But the process of breaking these tasks down, what it meant was we found individuals who found better ways to do tasks, harnessing people energy, was saying, wow, if we give everybody an opportunity to set their tasks, some of these people are going to have really cool tasks that work really, really well that we can then recommend to everyone. And if they make this an example, so for example, one of our salespeople came up with this idea that they would look for termites under the home when someone would call them, but they would also go look for termites around the outside of the home or maybe, on the property, anywhere. They would take a picture of the termites and then go show the picture to the homeowner, or even take the homeowner out to show the termites. So we took that task and then gave it to every salesman, and that in itself doubled the sales numbers on average for the average salesman. And so now we don't measure, did you sell a termite job today? We measure, did you take pictures and show them to the customer? And because that simple act alone will statistically guarantee a level of success. So it's really, I think, a wonderful find, because our number one employee concern when they talk to us is mental health. And so how do we embrace that? How do we help them? How do we make our job less stressful, but at the same time make them more successful? Like that's pretty tough. And so we try to use these ideas, make it simple, keep it simple. Fight for simplicity is another one of our core values. We want to keep everything really simple. That doesn't mean doing it the easy way, but it does mean being consistent and setting good, clear expectations.
Yeah. So this is pretty advanced or sophisticated approach to things, or at least it's different. You don't see it everywhere, and most people aren't born understanding these sorts of things. Where along the way in your career path did you start to discover some of these principles and ideas that you're now putting into practice?
Well, some of it was in discovery of being very analytical and watching people succeed. And then deciding like who was happy and how they were happy and how were they consistent, and measuring that. Some of it's reading and applying parenting books, growth mindset, for example, or something, to being a leader. Because what I find is I'm a father of 4, and it's my passion is being a dad. And what I find is that these books are really mostly about leadership, and they apply so strongly to the workplace. It's not that they're your children, but it is on how you behave and the behaviors and the actions that you might take. And it does help that I have like-minded people like Alicia and Performentor team that would and Amanda, of course.
I didn't need it as a cue up for that, but thank you.
Yes. Well, we found each other too, right? Yeah. Because we have like-minded ideas about humans are. Pest control is so awesome because we are a product, a service that is only a product of the people that we have. They're coming out and providing a service. They have to interact with the customer, intellectually analyze problems and create solutions. And so if I have extraordinary people, I have extraordinary service. If I have average people, I have average service, and I have below average people, I have below average service, period. There's almost nothing that I can do other than attract better people and create a culture of the right types of energy. And then, as you say, harness the energy. And I would say funnel it, because I want that energy applied to aiming for delight with our customers. I don't want that energy applied to how can I cut better corners or more corners, or how can I, do something like, how can I use my company truck for personal gain? But I'm gonna Uber my Go-Forth truck around. And I have a funny story. A couple of years ago, we had an
wait,
employee.
somebody used their truck as an Uber?
Yes. So a couple of years ago, someone came up with this idea, and nobody used it, but we had this session where we asked people for ideas, so what they did was, one of the guys said, what if we use our truck as an Uber when we're not spraying bugs, like if we have some free time? And another guy in the room actually does stand up, he said, yeah, we'll call it Goober, Go-Forth Uber. So so to this day, that has remained a good joke.
Goober.
Goober. But what I want to do is funnel that energy into creating an unbelievable customer experience. How do we make our customers feel special, rewarded? And then how do I create that? And the simple answer to that is make your employees feel special and rewarded, right? Because they reciprocate that out to everyone. And you have the special diamonds who probably doesn't matter how they're treated, and they treat everyone wonderfully. But in life, I think that you get the energy out, whatever you get put in. And so that's one of the big feedbacks about Go-Forth is they're like, man, this place is full of energy. And so I think maybe that might be my real title is like,
Chief Energy Officer?
Jump up and down guy. Yeah, Chief Energy Officer.
I've seen that before somewhere. No, I know exactly where I've seen that. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, actually, I'll connect you to somebody. You might enjoy him as a speaker for your team. Well, I mean, I think, I'm trying to figure out how to frame this. I think it's interesting, this whole idea, like finding the right people, but then there's the importance of the system, right? Because you can take a great person and put them in a bad system or maybe a mismatched system to them, and you don't necessarily get great results. I guess what are some of the things that you notice are sort of deal breakers, or what kind of when you think of like right person, what are the sorts of things that you are thinking of?
So, the first thing that we start with is the growth mindset, the Carol Dweck book. And essentially, it's very, very difficult to affect that mindset into an adult, right? It's very difficult to meet someone who is constantly feeling victimized by the world and feels out of control and not, versus someone who has a not yet mentality, who says, I want to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I want to grow. How do they handle failure? And is every failure an opportunity for growth? And so I think that's where we start. And growth is one of our core values, is grow. In fact, we put an exclamation mark behind it to emphasize that energy. But grow is one of our core values. And we start with that. And we basically state, probably don't have an opportunity for anyone to work here that doesn't live this value. And then another book by a similar author would be Grit, and that's another one of our core values. We struggled with that value for years until someone on this call, I think maybe pointed it out, or one of your colleagues at Performentor was like, "That sounds like grit." And so we kept coming up with other words for it. So we had accountability and toughness, but the problem with those was that they got interpreted sometimes by management to kind of be mean to the employees or something. But grit was a foundational one, and that is something you can look at grit on a resume. Growth is a little harder. You have to ask for it. You have to find out. You have to ask and learn about the people. But grit you can find on a resume with very little questions. You can see like, hey, is this person, every time a job ever got hard, did they leave? Or do they know how to stick that out? The other thing is, and this is really interesting, is that one of my core values is positivity. But that's not necessarily it's not a Go-Forth core value. It's an aspirational value, but my managers were very clear to say, not everybody here is positive, and they don't have to be. And they were very interesting because they said, but we know that everyone that works with you needs to be. And so that was really interesting. And so I look for positivity in my team. I look for people that see opportunities rather than only always seeing challenges, those types of things. And so I see probably growth and grit as the two things that we don't feel comfortable living without. If you don't have that, I don't know that we can teach them to you, if that makes sense. I think you learn it when you're a child, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, it can be harder to pick those up. It's almost like learning a new language later. You have to really work at it, and you have to want to.
That's right.
Not everyone wants to. Actually, few people really want to learn that much the older we get. So, I mean, you've had, a tremendous amount of success. So I imagine that, if you were to, I don't know, come up with some advice or an observation or an insight to other business owners who are wondering, how do I get more out of my team? I guess, what might you share?
So I will say the two, I think, largest impactful things that I've done, and they're both very closely related, along the lines of what you just said. How do I get more out of my team? Number one was develop really clear values, come up with explanations of what the value means inside your organization in case there's any possibility for misinterpretation, and then make all your business decisions according to those values and reevaluate them every year or so. And then the second thing is set big goals and teach your people how to set big goals and achieve them. And we do that, and I explained that earlier, through breaking everything down. And we don't ask other people to do that. We do it with them. And I do it with every one of my managers, who also has to do it with every one of their people. And meaning that we do it together. We literally do the math together, or sometimes I'll ask them to go do it and bring it back. But it is, what do we want to achieve? And we talk about that goal all the time, how we're going to get there. And so I think that the values, though, would be the place to start. You may have values, but if you don't talk about them all the time and make every decision based on it, then your people need to hear it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so what really convinced me of this was I heard the CEO for Chick-fil-A, and he talked about how I was in a small meeting with him, and I asked him, how do you get your people to like be so friendly and to provide such an incredible experience to everybody? And he said, well, we only hire people who love to serve. And he went on to elaborate on their values and how they make all their decisions based on their values. And I just found that to be so fascinating and so empowering. And I really thought about that as a business owner and thought, man, this is more under my control as a business owner than it feels like. It's not sitting people down and training them. It's every decision, every interaction, even if it costs you money, does it live up to your values? And so, and Alicia knows, we do tons of, and Amanda knows, we do so many exercises annually about our values. We have aspirational values that you've helped us develop. We have, I have my own family values and personal values, and then the company has their values, and they're constantly being evaluated, being clarified, and those types of things. And so I think that when you get super clear on those values, everyone aligns and gets on the same page. So be prepared to lose some people, because when you start doing that, you're going to have people that have been with you for years that are like, I don't like the direction that you're going, in some capacity. But at the same time, I think that people don't have enough clear direction. If I'm going to be honest, I think that was our mistake anyway. Yeah.
I mean, I think a couple of insights that I got from that is one, the Chick-fil-A story is incredible, because some people might think, for good reasons, that core values alignment really only scales so far. I mean, I think we could argue that Chick-fil-A is pretty big. They've managed to
That's right.
scale it, so maybe that excuse maybe is just an excuse if we have a model for seeing it work. And the other part that strikes me that I see, I see it's an easy mistake to make, that I talked to my employee, my team member, I told them what I would like them to do. We got the outcome goal set. And then like I check back in with them in a month and like I don't feel like they've done anything towards that goal. But what you talked about is that you work with the team, and all your managers work with each of their team to chart out the path to get there together. And that's a step that I think maybe for many leaders might feel like wasted effort. But doesn't sound like that's what you were.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, I get it. And I understand where people are coming from, but performance is, I mean, no matter where you're at, you have this incredible opportunity to dramatically increase your performance. And I was so confident in that we were performing near the peak. And now my employees do at least double. And so I know that sounds crazy and you feel like something has to sacrifice, but better systems, better people, more motivated, people driven higher, and I think it just comes down to how. I will also say this too. A guy challenged me with this and said, I was struggling with a manager, and he said, what if it was your son? What if your son came to work there? What would you do? What advice would you give him? How would you help your son? And I came into work the next day and I did exactly this. I broke down his goals and he watched me into tasks. And then I created a system for him to measure and report those tasks every single day at a specific time, and made him held him accountable. And it took him 2.5 weeks. This is a guy who worked for me for about 1.5 years before this, and it took him 2.5 weeks, and he completely turned it around. And the interesting thing is, in that conversation where he said, what would you do for your son? I was in a room with a bunch of other people, and maybe 17 people, and almost unanimously, they said, wrong seat. You need to let the guy go. And now it's been 5 years later. He's a senior in the company. He's been here for, regional management. He's excelled and been amazing. And I'm so glad I didn't take 16 out of the 17 people's advice, and I took the one, because the deal is people are not, I don't ever think of people as that easily replaceable. I just don't. Maybe it's because I've had tough experience in pest control. Not everybody wants to crawl underneath houses and squirt bugs. And so I look at people as these assets that are human beings that need these support systems and these things. And it's our job to find the right fit. And then once they're here, we are committed. So get out there and provide systems to help them be the best version of themselves.
That's great insight. Well, I feel like I've learned a lot. We've had a great conversation. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up, Chase?
Oh no, I will just say that in as far as your heuristic, I think about constantly. I think it's actually part of my main job is to fight entropy, because that is something that is very, very natural for an organization to encounter. I'm an energy officer. I'm running around getting everybody hyped and changing direction on people, and so sometimes that's disruptive. But it's just like anybody else in my organization. I personally have to have that. I have to have to channel the funnel. Like you said, I've got to harness my own energy and point it in the right direction as well. So taking the time to think about what direction, the values, all those things are really critical for me to spend my time wisely, and then for everyone else as well. Same.
And I mean, heck, Performentor's mission is to unleash people energy in and for small organizations. So like I said, it's foundational. It's I think one of many things that we have in common is that that desire to do that, that the fact that it's so rewarding when it happens is why I do this. It's the best
Yeah,
thing in
no.
the world.
and that's why I choose to work with you.
Yay! Awesome,
Right.
Chase. It's been a great conversation. It's been such a wonderful delight to have been working with you and to continue working with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.